Topic of data centers in Prince George's County is getting a lot of attention. Residents have been protesting to make sure they don't come to the county, but there's been a lot of misinformation circulating around the topic. Joining me to help set the record straight is County Councilwoman and Qualified Data Center Task Force member Wala Blegay. Thank you so much for joining us, Wala.
Thank you.
All right, so starting off here, I really want to talk about the information that you've gathered for data centers so far.
Yeah, we've been meeting, and I just want to go back of how we even started the Qualified Data Center Task Force, so people would understand that this is transparency. That's why we started the task force. We had a vote last November that was going to remove a process that a data center would have to go through. I think it's a subdivision process, and it was going to skip it, and we voted that down. And at that time, I said we need to make sure these infrastructures are in place before anything is fast tracked. This is before we knew anything about what happened in 2021. I was not on the council then, so we didn't know. But the chair and I spoke, and there we decided to start a task force because I started looking into all the infrastructure issues. And we decided to start a task force, and we actually started it in June. So this was before anybody protests about Landover. And during that time, the first meeting, they actually pulled out the zoning and told us that they could bring zoning in just about every zone. There's at least 6 different zones you could put up a data center. So at that time, we talked about pausing everything until we finished the task force recommendations. And I will say that the recommendations are coming out next month. We're working on those now. Some of the things we've learned, electricity is a huge issue. No data center can be turned on in the next 4 to 5 years, because the electricity issue is such a dire issue that something has to be done. There are concerns about that if a data center is turned on, we are on a 13-state consortium with power. So meaning that if a data center is turned on in Loudoun County, it still impacts us no matter what. So when people say no data centers in Prince George's County because it's impacting our electricity, if it turns on in Frederick, it impacts our electricity. You have data centers coming in Frederick and Montgomery County that is impacting our electricity. Another thing is that there's a discussion about environmental racism. Now, I will say on the record, I am not in support of a data center at Landover, neither is the county executive. We passed a pause resolution to stop that, to stop anything going forward. Will there be possible litigation because of our action? Possibly, we don't know. But at this time, we're not in support of a data center at Landover. Nobody is. It is too close to homes. We don't know who was behind expediting it. We know that the past council fast-tracked the bill. The members on that time were, Jolene Ivy. There were many of those, and amongst others, at least 4 members that are currently on there that voted to fast-track. I would have never done that, because we haven't gotten the infrastructure in place.
And I know your colleague, Chairman Edward Barrows, did mention to me that he believes that there's going to be a happy medium when it comes to the decision that's going to be made around data centers in Prince George's County. So maybe they won't be in residential areas, but they would be in rural areas.
Possibly. I mean, what we notice is that the ones in Frederick and Montgomery County are in rural areas, so they're not near houses. Landover is just right. I mean, there are homes right there, walking distance from the site. That is just to the concerns. So I know that the concerns about the water, when we talk with WSSC, it looks like the water issue will be resolved. Also, they talked about Loudoun County, that there were noise issue. The noise issue was only a couple of sites that had noise issues, and they said they were near the water. So we are learning from that. We have our staff looking into why there was noise issues in those areas. Now, when people talk about environmental racism, we want to kind of clear that they're targeting Black communities. At this time, data centers are mostly in majority white communities. Loudoun County, Prince William County. It's our understanding that other than Landover site, in Prince George's County, the other Black community that there's been a proposal of a data center is Memphis. Mm-hmm. So this is not something that they're just targeting Black communities. It is they're targeting anywhere where they can get some space to put up a data center.
Yeah, and I know that the Qualified Data Center Task Force was created so that there can be an unbiased sort of environment in the decision-making process to bring those policy recommendations over to the county council. But can you share with us whether you are for or against data centers?
Well, I don't think we should have any data centers near residential areas. It is a concern that I have that it is too close. There are too many infrastructure issues. I don't believe we should turn on a data center until we get this energy crisis resolved. However, I do understand, as the people have brought forth, that there is a concern about our revenues. The county is in a structural deficit. And if we don't address that issue soon or now, many people are talking about some of the big things that we've lost, like the Commanders or Six Flags. But what we don't understand, redevelopment and that scale takes years. And so we need multiple things now to really turn this around. And data centers, Montgomery County is about to make money from data centers. Frederick is. Loudoun County already gets about $1 billion, close to $1 billion in revenues because of data centers. So I think that's where the issue is, that many county stakeholders are looking at how can it be done, but it doesn't backfire on impacting our community, and we just can't have that.
But has the county council looked at other ways that can generate money in the same way the data center can?
Of course, we have looked at that too. We have looked at retail, commercial development, those type of things. So we have multiple balls in the air. I just would say data centers is probably the one that needs to be studied the most because of the infrastructure issue. So that's why we have a task force and some other things. But yeah, we have everything on the table.
And so who is making this final decision? The county council?
Well, different stakeholders, because the recommendations will be just what they are, but the recommendations won't be just the council. The council can look at some things, but there's some things that the county executive is going to have to do. There are some things like when they say bring your own energy. If they're going to get a data center, that's something that's going to have to work out with PEPCO and PJM. I will say the first thing we're going to do is remove the fast tracking. I would do that because I do believe that with the infrastructure issues, fast tracking should not come with data centers. They should go through the regular process. Why people in Landover feel so cheated? There was a detailed site plan process that usually requires a number of community meetings and will bring the project before the council. They fast-tracked that and removed that detailed site plan process, that it went straight from subdivision with barely a community meeting straight to permitting. What's stopping the permitting are our pause on data center and the county executive's executive order. So what we're trying to do is there will be multiple bills put in place to probably make sure that this goes smoothly.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Wala Blegay. It has been a pleasure to get this information from you. And we know the Qualified Data Center Task Force is working on their recommendations for the County Council that must be submitted by November 30th. We will continue to update you on the latest developments around data centers as new information is released.
All right, Aniya, thanks so much. Lots of great information there. And be sure to tune in to CTV News tomorrow to see an exclusive interview with a qualified data center task force member who is against data centers being placed in Black and brown communities and has a strong opinion on community members being silenced around the topic.